Hi Aquarius, it's Jenny here with your tarot horoscope for the month of March. So we're just going to be pulling a single, there it is, jumped right out. That was quick. So this card will be for March, and the first 2/3 of March is Pisces season, and then at equinox we're going to be rolling over into Aries season, which is the start of a new energetic year. Aries being the first sign of the zodiac. So ready with your first card, or your only card, and your card is the Moon. This is a major arcana card. So here we have this sort of city skyline at night. It's big moon here. And then down here by the ocean, we have, looks like a lobster or a crustacean of sorts with this big kind of sweeping color back up into the sky. A couple of howling dogs or wolves there. It's a big night cityscape, and that is the moon. So we're going to see what the moon has to say for us this month. Okay, Aquarius, the moon, deliverance. The moon represents the collective unconscious and oceanic feelings. The full moon will lure hidden instincts into the open, with the potential to shake us up emotionally. Do not lose courage. Perhaps we are gripped by emotional tension that we can't quite fathom. There is a danger of getting too absorbed in our vacillating moods. Instead of putting ourselves in the picture, we hide in the big city jungle, howl at the moon like the dogs or wolves seen at the bottom left of the card, or become petrified like the big towers. This is an opportunity for empathy to deepen. We feel at one with all living beings, as we are equally at home in the past, the present, and the future. This card conveys the promise of integrating that which has been formerly suppressed and transmuting the spiritual distress into the uplifting, artful realms of the soul. The tedium of the everyday will be transformed into real fulfillment. Practical advice. Accept your intense emotions as a reality that wants to be lived, just like any other aspect of your being. Then you may safely swim about in the deep waters of your psyche. Be at peace with yourself and the world. Open up your heart and cease to be self-absorbed. Okay, this card sounds sometimes in a way like a bit of a slap on the wrist, but this also feels very relevant to the current energy of Pisces that's current with right now up until equinox. So Pisces in and of itself is correlated with the ocean, and it's ruled by Neptune. So it's all about big oceans of feelings. It's a big sign of empathy, of not just your own connection to your own emotions, but feeling connected to the emotions of others, kind of that everybody is in this big ocean. We're all in the ocean, part of each other. And so Pisces season is kind of like breaking down the walls of separation between us and other beings, and really feeling what it means to all, well, basically be in one kind of cosmic condition and in on Earth together. So this card can, and so Pisces season itself can feel very can be a bit emotionally overwhelming, especially if it's not something you're very used to. Oftentimes water elements have a bit of an easier, or at least a more familiar time in Pisces season, because they're a little bit more used to feeling those emotional currents and living with that water energy. So for the rest of us, and especially you Aquarius, this might feel like, oh, like I'm not used to feeling these emotions, and also not used to being so attuned to the emotions of others. So it's kind of like a double overwhelm of feeling your own emotions more so, but then like the walls that have usually separated you from other people and their emotions and their energy have kind of come down and dissolved a little bit. And so it can be like, are these even my feelings? Are these other people's feelings? Like this feeling of drowning can occur. And so this card is really trying to, like, you can kind of go either way. You can get so swamped by it and then get totally absorbed by it, and then kind of wallow and drown and get and just start to be those howling wolves of like, oh, this is so hard and so awful, and being going beyond what is just a healthy expression and a healthy acceptance and feeling of the emotions, to like a bemoaning of them, and not feeling the emotion, but feeling the overwhelm of the emotion, and being in resistance to the fact that there is a lot of intensity happening. And that is kind of interrupts the flow of just allowing those feelings to be experienced and then to move through. It's this attachment to a desire to not feel intensely, and this feeling that like, I really just don't want things to be this way, and not wanting things to be this way then has this contradictory effect of making them be that way more. So if you have an emotion or you have an experience, if you just have it and you say, well, that was a little unpleasant, that was what just happened. That allows you to experience it and then let go, and it actually moves through faster. But if you meet it with resistance and say, oh, why is this happening? Oh, I don't want to feel this way. Oh, it was better when I didn't feel this way. You're actually just holding on to it more and trapping yourself in that state instead of allowing it to move. So that is this, like, okay, just gonna take a deep breath. Understand that this time might feel intense, but it's also finite. This energy isn't going to be around forever. It's something that you might just kind of have to put your head down and bear for a while. But that is one of the things that builds empathy, as this card says. This is an opportunity for empathy to deepen, and having intense experiences is one of the best ways to build empathy, because it takes away and it moves you out of an intellectual sympathy for other people's plight by saying, I can imagine that what you're feeling is intense and I sympathize with you, versus, oh, I am actually in this shared experience with you. We are together. We are both here. I now can really experience what this is like for you. And now I have a deep empathy for others in this plight, because I now have known it for myself. And that empathy is a really important thing for us to experience, to ground us in our collective experience. And in particular for you, Aquarius, especially having just come out of Aquarius season, a lot of the Aquarian energy is a very high, elevated, enlightened, and above the world kind of feeling, of this bird's eye view, of being able to look down and see everything with this mental clarity and this overview, which is a very above the world and not in the world kind of feeling. And so being brought back after we just had this sort of uplifted envisioning, quite possibly very creative and kind of like, eureka, I'm really excited by these new possibilities that are coming. You don't want to float away with that for so long that you become detached from what is the true emotional currents of existing as incarnate beings. And so if it feels like this, like, switch from being up here to whoosh, being awash in these emotions, take that as the gift for what it is, which is keeping you in balance and is helping you not just float away and be disconnected from your own emotional experiences and those from others around you. So this wash of empathy can feel uncomfortable, but only if you are attached to it feeling a different way. And this is also, the moon card itself is a reminder that we move through things in cycles, and we are not in a constant linear motion. Because of the moon waxing and waning and changing its cycles regularly and rhythmically, there is the constant in the predictable nature of the pattern, but it is not constant as in one state of being. So there are moments where you might be in an emotional peak that feels intense, and there may be other moments where you're actually at emotional low and you don't feel a lot. There's moments where you feel really excited and inspired, and there's moments where you feel really apathetic or dejected. These are all cycles that are going to come and go, and accepting that the nature of the rhythm is going to make it not an experience of suffering. Like that whole phrase, like, pain is mandatory, suffering is optional. The whole idea that unpleasant stimuli and unpleasant experiences are going to come your way no matter what, but you don't have to make them be a point of suffering and hurt yourself twice by being so in resistance to it. And so this card is trying to transform that, and allow this empathy to deepen and connect a little bit more with those cycles, and not just want to be in this linear trajectory upward. So there is this this opportunity as well, jumping back to the astrology of this particular moment in March. So March being the end of the zodiacal year, the end of the energetic year, it's kind of like a bit of like a recap of all of the things that we've experienced throughout the year. We've experienced lots of different kind of uplifting things, some experiences of maybe past trauma being integrated, new visions and beliefs, trying to manifest new goals. And this is a great time to just think about where you've been in the last year, from last March equinox at the beginning of Aries season last year to now. How has that journey shaped you? And how, in both the practical, tangible ways, but also How has that shaped kind of your essence and your sense of who you are, whether you ascribe to certain spiritual practices, and this is, if in that case, this is a very like a spiritual time of sort of this transcending out of just the human experience and preparing to kind of merge with the ocean of spiritual energy in the cosmos, that you can look at it that way. If you're a little bit, if you prefer to ground in different ways, this is the ocean of Pisces can also be the realm of the unconscious mind, and that kind of ocean under the conscious existence that we normally sit at. And this can be a time to think, okay, like really, we live our lives in such a conscious level, but there's always this sea, this flow of unconscious fears and desires and dreams that are driving us. And so Pisces season is also a great time to connect, to slow down and connect into things that are often unconscious, and work in that process as well. So whichever paradigm you're kind of working with, it sort of feels like that season end, that's going to set up, that's going to tie up storylines from the past year, and then set us up and prepare us for the next kind of season of what's happening. And that's going to be on March equinox when we start into Aries season. So we have this experience of this oceanic, both Pisces emergence, and for you, you're double dipping with this moon card. So it may be like, oh, wow, a really big swim. And then when we hit into Aries season, then that energy is going to switch and it's going to go into fire energy. Aries is this new creation, this new life. And it's still quite unformed. It's still fresh. It's this infantile energy, of possibility, and inspiration, without necessarily being this like 10-year plan that's going to be really clear about what's coming next. It's just this like, it's like that spring breeze of things are budding and blooming, and I don't know what they are. I don't even know where they are, but I can tell that things are moving and things are going to be different. So that is going to kind of open things up towards the end of March and give a little bit like of a different kind of excitement. And this, even just this line here in the card, the tedium of the everyday will be transformed into real fulfillment. So there's this spark of, we don't just sit in these emotions forever and just wallow and swim in them, and we build this empathy for a purpose, that it can then be employed in a way that gives us a deeper sense of purpose, and excitement when we start to try to move forward and take action in our lives again. So I don't, because this is a major arcana card, major arcana energy is broad, and far-reaching, and has consequence for longer periods of time. So it's not like a specific, this is what you're dealing with in a very specific way. This is a theme. So this theme may carry you just through this month. This may be the theme that's actually going to be infusing your entire next year, because it's starting at this point. So this concept of the moon and oceanic feelings and being more involved in the collective and building empathy, that is both going to be your experience for an amount of time, but this may also be collective energy as well that a lot of people are going to be tapping into, not just you. So these themes are going to be present, and that is, again, that reminder to think about the moon and its waxing and waning circles, that you may just find that you have these sort of deep emotional, empathetic experiences for a while in this cycle, where, like, you know, whether you actually attune to the moon cycle a little bit more and you feel that full moon heightened energy more, and you feel that newer possibilities in the new moon, you can see if you want to track things that way. But if not, just being aware that's a normal kind of thing to feel, and it might just be a little bit heightened for you. And that's actually a great way to inspire you, to give yourself a little bit of structure in what otherwise can feel like this big sea. Is you can, really work on, for this upcoming year, really work with months, really work with cycles, whether you actually follow the lunar calendar and follow the moon itself, or you're just more specific about your goals in the calendar months, just to sort of to do this kind of washout cycle throughout the year. That might be something that it fits for you. But if that doesn't feel inspiring to you, you can take it or leave it. So any last thing I want to share about this? No, I don't think so. I'm not gonna beat the dead horse on this one. It's going to be perhaps a challenge for you. Some of you are maybe not as preferring to be in the realms of the cerebral and the intellectual. That's kind of your strong playing ground. So this is a challenge, as this might be for some of you a little bit unfamiliar territory. So it's unfamiliar territory is always an opportunity to grow and build new skills, but that also doesn't mean that you don't still have the really strong skill of your cognitive and abilities to guide you through these emotional seas. Like, you are still able to get ground into your rational experience as an anchor point as you experience these emotional flows. So you can still certainly use that. Our emotions and our mind are not to be used in opposition for each other. They ideally do work together. And so this is just an opportunity to strengthen that emotional core, and then you can connect it even more with your already kind of strong intellectual capacity. And like, once you've kind of brought both of those up, that's going to be a really strong power for you in this coming year. So I'll leave it at that. So that's it for the March Tarot Horoscope. I am letting you know that I am going to be starting a Pay What You Can series of workshops for each zodiac season. So I'm going to be doing one this equinox for Aries season, and that's going to be a collective tarot and astrology reading. So it's going to be relevant for everybody. It's not just for one particular sign. And like I said, that is Pay What You Can, and it's going to be hosted here on the YouTube channel here. So if you want to come back and check me out in March equinox and see if that's going to help you out, I'd love to see you then. Other than that, have a wonderful March, Aquarius. Best of luck.